Welcome back, Karptastic ladies and gentlemen, to another Fun Friday episode in this PTCGO series. Fun Friday is all about silly and fun deck ideas, and today I bring you a deck based around Jirachi from the Roaring Skies expansion. As always, if you want to skip the deck analysis, click the annotation on the top left of the screen or click the timestamps in the description, and those will take you straight to the battles in the versus ladder. Jirachi is a basic Pokemon with 70 hit points and has got 2 attacks. Diminutive Desire, being the first one, takes a Metal Energy and kinda has a supporter-like effect because you get to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, pick a card and shuffle the rest back into your deck. Now the main attack that we will be focusing on is the Doom Desire, which takes 2 energies, a Metal and a Colorless, but in our case 2 Metal Energies since this deck only runs Metal Energies. And then you have to discard both of the Metal Energies that you attach to the Jirachi, and in the next turn or at the end of your opponent's next turn, his active Pokemon is knocked out regardless of how many hit points it has, unless our opponent retreats that active Pokemon. And then the effect does not take place because then the defending Pokemon was changed. So our opponent could retreat the active Pokemon in several ways. He could use a switching card like a switch or an escape rope. He could attach a floatstone to the active Pokemon. He could stand in with Zoroark and attach a floatstone to Zoroark to retreat. So we will have to find some ways to deal with our opponent retreating, prevent our opponent from retreating so that he cannot negate the Doom Desire's effect and so that we can knock out his defending Pokemon. And one of the ways that we will be dealing with our opponent retreating is using this 1-1 line of Trubbish and Garbodor. Garbodor with the Garbotoxin, which deactivates all abilities from Pokemon in play except Garbodor's Garbotoxin, and that means if our opponent runs a Zoroark line to retreat, then the Zoroark, the stand-in from the Zoroark, won't work, so my opponents will not be able to use that ability, and we prevent our opponent from retreating using the Zoroark. Another way that we will prevent our opponent from retreating is playing down the Team Aqua's Secret Base Stadium, which increases my opponent's retreat cost by 1 colorless energy. So that means our opponent cannot use the free retreat from free retreat Pokemon and will have to pay some retreat cost if he wants to retreat, and that leaves my opponent with only one easy way to retreat, and that's using switching cards. So we cannot directly deal with switching cards, we will just have to hope our opponent cannot find them, but using that stadium and using Garbodor we can somewhat take away our opponent's options to retreat and have a chance at knocking out his defending Pokemon using the Doom Desire. One thing to note here is that Garbodor will also be very useful against decks like Greninja Break, like Trevenant Break, because these decks are very threatening to us. The Trevenant Break with the item lock, Greninja Break with all the Water Shuriken snipes, and the Garbotoxin shuts down those abilities and also shuts down abilities from other decks like Vileplume, Vespiquen or Bats decks. Now we have to be wary here because with Garbotoxin we will also be shutting down our own abilities, and we run quite a few Pokemon with abilities. We have our own Zoroark stand-in line. We will want to stand in and retreat with the Zoroark in order to get the Jirachi out of the active spot that we used with the Doom Desire, because if we use this Doom Desire, this Jirachi will not have any energies attached, will not be able to attack in the next turn. So what we are going to do is we are going to stand in, retreat the Jirachi onto the bench, and then power it up with a Metal Links, with the Metal Links from the Bronzong here. And in the meantime we will promote a Jirachi from the bench that was powered up using these Metal Links in the previous turn. That way we can keep switching between Jirachis, keep using the Doom Desire and putting pressure on my opponent. Now if we have the Garbodor in play, that won't work, so we will have to be a little bit slower. So we'll have to pay the trade-off between getting the Garbodor in play in certain matchups and having our own switching abilities here. We do run some other switching options like just this one switch here, so it's not nearly as good as using the Zoroark, but at least we have some other switching options, and we could also just attach a floatstone to the Jirachis if we really want. And finally, we run one copy of Aegislash-EX with the Mighty Shield ability, which prevents all damage done to Aegislash by Pokemon that have any special energies attached. And this will especially come in handy against decks like Night March, since they rely heavily on special energies, and if they want to knock out this Aegislash, they will have to find a Hex Maniac to do so. So we can use this Aegislash to stall against Night March and even knock out Night Marches if we power up the Slash Blast with, for example, the Metalinks from the Bronzong. Now, one thing I want to mention here, if we don't want to get Garbodor out because we want to keep our own abilities, we could actually replace the Garbodor with the Hex Maniac here. I run one copy of Hex Maniac. This Hex Maniac can be used to shut down the abilities as well, and is also very handy against Night March. If you play a Hex Maniac down in your first turn against Night March, then you slow down Night Marches tremendously because they cannot use Shaymin here for setup. I do have my own Shaymin to set up. Most decks out there run Shaymin, so it should be no surprise that I have 2 copies of the Shaymin here to draw through my deck. And we need to set up quite a bit here. We have quite a few evolution lines to get out. And we'll try to do that as well with the level balls here to get the basics out, and then the ultra balls to get out the Shaymins and the evolutions like the Zoroark, because we cannot get out the Zoroark with a level ball. We can get out the Bronzong with a level ball. That's pretty nice. Let's take a look at the supporter cards then. A pretty standard draw supporter line: 4 Sycamores, 1 Birch, and then 1 Judge for disruption, 1 Lysandre to target our opponent's heavy EXs. You want to target Pokemon that have a hefty retreat cost so that they are stuck in the active spot, especially in combination with this Team Aqua's secret base. I do run 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt for the Jirachis and the Aegislash. With the Fighting Fury Belt, the Jirachi has 110 hit points, the same as a Shaymin, and it makes it a little bit tougher for my opponent to knock out the Jirachis if he wants to do so. And I think that's about it for the deck analysis. 4 VN Seekers to get back our supporters, 3 Trainers Mail for consistency, 1 Super Rod to get back our Pokemon and energies, and then finally 2 Max Elixirs to power up our Jirachis in the first turn, potentially. We just Max Elixir onto a Jirachi on the bench, attach from our hand, attach a Floatstone to the active Pokemon, retreat into the Jirachi here, and go for a Doom Desire, putting a lot of pressure on my opponent right off the bat. And that's it. I'll quickly go to this overview, which is broken in this update. That's why I'm not using it. I cannot click on the cards, or when I do, it brings up another card, so I hope they fix that pretty soon. But I'm gonna call it here. Leave a like if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy the coming battles, and subscribe to my channel for more fun, silly and competitive deck ideas, and I'll see you in the battles. Alright, the first opponent of the day has arrived, and it is teeny _16 with a pure fire deck. That's going to be an interesting battle, I think. Fire Pokemon usually have a pretty high retreat cost, so I think we actually stand a chance here with our silly deck idea, because I gotta say it is a silly deck idea. Don't expect too much of it. It loses pretty easily, even though it does have some mechanisms built in to deal with Pokemon retreating. Nonetheless, it is quite sensitive to a lot of things, and retreating, paying the energy cost to retreat is still not too difficult for most Pokemon. This Flareon, for example, has 2 energy retreat costs, but easily can get 3 energy attachments and then retreat, certainly because of the Flash Fire. So even with our Stadium, this Flareon could retreat pretty easily and, yeah, deny the effect of the Doom Desire. So, and as well, Pokemon that evolve, I didn't really touch upon that in the analysis, but Pokemon that evolve, if you're defending Pokemon evolves, then the Doom Desire doesn't work on the evolved Pokemon, so that's a problem as well. We do get our Jirachi powered up straight away. That is pretty good. Might have to go with the Hex Maniac at some point, so I kind of want to keep it in hand. I'm going to discard 1 energy, a Jirachi, and go for a Shaymin. Yeah, I want to use the Hex Maniac to deal with the Flash Fire ability from Flareon EX. I'm gonna keep the stadium in hand to counter my opponent's stadium. And I'm looking for a float stone right now. Float stone and something else maybe, but it doesn't look like we can get it. In the next turn, hopefully we can get a float stone onto the Zorua. Or we could attach an energy, manually retreat it before we evolve it, because the Zoroark has a 2 retreat cost and the Zorua has a 1 retreat cost. I'm expecting to see this Flareon get powered up pretty quickly here, so we'll have to try and be speedy about it, see if we can keep up with my opponent's speed. We do know my opponent does not run Shaymin, so it might be a little bit slower in setting up because of that. But still, the Flash Fire ability allows the Flareon to set up the Blaze Ball pretty quickly. Certainly with a Blacksmith here and then an attachment to a Flareon on the bench, for example. But why would you do that if you could just Blacksmith onto Flareon and then attach to Flareon? This Flash Fire ability is mainly useful for the mid-late game for my opponents. We already see a Blacksmith in the discard pile, two energies as well, so we could definitely see a knockout on the Zorua this turn if we see the Blacksmith come out. We know my opponent has an energy in hand, decides to attach to the Flareon on the bench, so he's not confident in getting out the Blacksmith and a pass of the turn. Look at that. My opponent did not manage to find the Blacksmith or a VS Seeker for the Blacksmith. That is definitely good for us. I am going to take no risks and retreat the Zorua by discarding an energy, attach a Fighting Fury Belt to the Jirachi, even though the Flareon will be able to knock it out in one hit. Then we'll evolve into the Zoroark. We will counter the stadium, make it so that my opponent needs 3 energy attachments to the Flareon to retreat, and then we will get rid of the abilities in play so that my opponent cannot move the energy to the Flareon on the bench to the Flareon in the active spot, and hopefully that suffices to get a knockout on the Flareon here. We have one problem: we don't have a Bronzong benched to switch to power up our Jirachi if we retreat it with Zoroark's stand-in ability. That's a bit of a problem. But it looks like my opponent is going to opt not to retreat the Flareon in the active spot, which gives us a chance here. Alright, so I kind of want to switch into the Zoroark and then power up the Jirachi with the Max Elixir that we just got and sacrifice the Zoroark. Oh, we failed the Max Elixir. Oh, that's big. That's big. Otherwise, we could have pulled off another Doom Desire this turn, but it doesn't seem like we will be able to. Can we maybe find a Float Stone? We do find a Float Stone. I'm gonna get out a Bronzor for sure here. We need a Bronzor. I'm probably going to sacrifice the Zoroark, or I'm going to sacrifice the Trubbish actually. I'm going to attach a Float Stone to the Zoroark and retreat into the Trubbish and sacrifice that. And next turn we will... No. Oh my gosh, what a misclick. What a misclick. What a misclick that was. Oh, I cannot believe that happened. Well, too late. Yeah, that sucks. Might as well get out another Bronzor, because we just sacrificed that one and we do not have another one in our deck. Are you kidding me? Oh, I hope this does not cost us the game. That's just a pure misclick. That's not even a misplay. That's just a misclick. And I don't want to sacrifice the Zoroark really. Or do I? Do I want to sacrifice the Zoroark? Maybe I do. I kind of do actually. I'm going to sacrifice the Zoroark. I'm going to stand in. I want to keep that Bronzor. Bye bye Zoroark. It was nice knowing you. But you will have to go. Yeah, we need to get back energies from our discard pile. We have 4 already in the discard pile. We definitely need to get them back as soon as possible. And we need that Bronzong for that. And there is the knockout on the Zoroark. We will promote the Jirachi. And we might even want to Lysandre out the Houndoom, because the Houndoom has a 3 retreat cost. The Flareon can retreat if it wants to. So I think I will do that. I'm going to Lysandre out the Houndoom. We do get another Floatstone, which I will attach to the Bronzor. I will go for a Doom Desire onto the Houndoom. Hopefully my opponent does not have a Blacksmith. Has used 2 so far, but no VS Seekers yet. So it's likely my opponent could get a Blacksmith, but I don't think... Does she have energies in the discard pile? She does not. She cannot Blacksmith. Amazing. We might get a free knockout here. Our Jirachi will go down in the next turn, but we can power up another one with our Bronzor. There is a Grand Flame, so my opponent will opt to knock out the Jirachi, which it cannot, since we have the Fighting Fury belt. We stay alive with 10 hit points. I am so happy we've got that Fighting Fury belt. I couldn't be happier about it. And now we get a Bronzor. We already have our Super Rod in a discard pile, so there is no point really putting down this Bronzor. And we get a VS Seeker, an Ultra Ball. I'm gonna discard the Sycamore and the Bronzor for a Bronzong. We need to get that Bronzong out in play, so we can start getting energies back from our discard pile. It's really time now. We have 6 energies in our discard pile. That's a lot of energies. Oh, come on now. There we go. Metal Links. Metal Energy onto the Jirachi. And do I want to use this VS Seeker for anything? I'm probably going to have to go with the Sycamore here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Sycamore. That means we only have one last VS Seeker left. This might have been a little bit risky of me to go with the Sycamore here, but at least, we get another Jirachi. That's what I was looking for. So we can now have 2 backup attackers ready. Alright, yeah, let's go with this here. Let's get 2 attackers ready. So if my opponent Lysandres out either of them, we are good to go. We will probably promote the Bronzong in the next turn if my opponent knocks out the Jirachi. I'm kind of worried we might run out of energies here. And there is another attachment. Hitting for weakness. We might actually run out of Jirachi. We only have 2 left. Alright, let's Metal Links and let's force our opponent to retreat. We'll retreat ourselves into the Jirachi. Go for the Doom Desire. My opponent needs to retreat here, needs to pay the retreat cost. Or it will be game. So my opponent has no choice. And there it is indeed. My opponent retreats the Flareon. Goes for a VS Seeker and a Blacksmith. It's going to Blacksmith back onto the Flareon. This buys us some time to power up our Pokemon ourselves. Oh, Blacksmith onto the Larvesta, and even evolves in the Volcarona. He hits for a knockout with the Volcarona. I did not see that coming whatsoever. This might actually be very tricky for us to pull off. We need a VS Seeker for a Lysandre on the Flareon. We only have 1 Jirachi left. This will be a very close game. Unexpectedly, very, very close game. Yes, we get a VS Seeker. My gosh. It's all or nothing now. If my opponent retreats the Flareon, and then it's game. We cannot do anything anymore. Oh my gosh, this is the turn. This is the decisive turn. I might actually want to dig for a Garbodor as well. Attach a Floatstone so that my opponent cannot use the... Oh, but we have both Floatstones in the discard pile, don't we? 1 Float Stone, 2 Fighting Fury Belts. Yeah, all of our tools are in the discard pile, so getting out the Garbodor doesn't really matter. We just have to hope my opponent cannot retreat the Flareon. Doom Desire, win or lose, this is it. And I think it will be lose actually. I think my opponent will be able to Blacksmith. I'm pretty sure. Goes for a Skyla. Ooh, no Blacksmith. No Blacksmith. Professor's Letter. Now we will see a... Oh, she will be able to retreat then. Will attach, will use a Flash Fire ability. That's why I didn't want to see the ability there. I wanted to get the Garbodor out. We'll see the... Oh, and retreats. Oh, that was big. And we see a Solar Birth. So we managed to stay alive. And there is another Flareon. Can we power up our Jirachi one more time? Can we do that? There's a Blacksmith as well. So in the next turn the Flareon will come out there. Oh my gosh, this is intense. I'm gonna discard these two. Get out something. Do we have something to attack with? We have an Aegislash. That's our only attacker. It's the only attacker we can use. We'll have to start powering up the Aegislash. That's the only thing we can do. You have 7 energies in the discard pile. Okay, I'm gonna keep the Stadium in my deck, because otherwise we will deck out. We get 2 energies. We just need to be able to stall until our Aegislash is fully powered up. That means within 2 turns we need to be able to get a knockout on a Flareon. I'm not sure if that will be possible. We can attach 1 and then 2 and then 1 more. That's 5. 5 times 20. That's definitely not enough. That is not enough for a knockout. There's another Blacksmith. I can't believe we are losing this match after all, just because my opponent could retreat. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the game here. That's why this is a silly deck idea, since it's still fairly easy for certain decks to retreat, and certainly for this Flareon with the Blacksmith, since they can attach energies constantly. We even see a Fighting Fury Belt on the Flareon. That means yeah, that means it's definitely GG. We don't have a Lysandre anymore. We used all of our VS Seekers. And a Blaze Ball for the knockout on the Jirachi. It was close, but we will be losing this game. So we'll have to find another game to win it. I'm gonna put up a fight here. I'm gonna make it as tough as I can for my opponent. I'm gonna keep powering up the Aegislash. You never know what can happen, and I'll even counter the Stadium right now. Evolve this Garbodor, why the heck not? It was close. We just needed 1 tool on the Garbodor. That's all we needed. 1 tool, and my opponent would not have been able to retreat, I think. Or did she have the Stadium? I think she countered the Stadium actually. Yeah, this is definitely it. We will hit for a little bit of damage, but not nearly enough to knock out the Flareon. It's gonna be close, but it's gonna be a loss. Very, very sad. I'm very sad right now. That's why I'm silent. I'm so sad. I thought we had this game, but I knew from the start it was going to be tricky. There's just so many cards in game which can energy accelerate right now. Blacksmith and Oblivion Wings and stuff like that, and that makes it tough to take advantage of your opponent paying the retreat cost. So we will Metal Links one more time, then we will deck ourselves out. Just because there's no point keeping that last card in our deck, we'll play down the Shaymin. Maybe it is an energy card. I don't think so, but it is a Trainer's Mail, and then we will retreat, hit for a ton of damage, and lose the game with dignity. It was close, but it was not possible for us to take the win, unfortunately. And my opponent knows that. Why is she going for okay, well, I don't... If you wanna just attack already, I don't really fancy my opponent playing around there, so we will just concede since my opponent was wasting a little bit of time, and we will move on to the next match of the day. Today the new ladder started as well. Not too big of a fan of the ladder, the Regice EX. This looks like it's gonna be a Garchomp deck. That's gonna be an auto loss for us. Garchomp is auto loss against Jirachi. Basically, I will try my best here, but Garchomp is another one of those decks. It's even worse than Flareon because Garchomp has free retreat. So if we put our stadium in play, they only needs to pay 1 energy as a retreat cost, and on top of that, it can use the Turbo Assault to accelerate energies back from the discard pile. And on top of that, we need to wait to knock out the Garchomps until they are fully evolved, because if we use the Doom Desire before, it won't have any effect because the Garchomp will evolve from the Gible, and if we use Doom Desire on the Gible, then the Gible won't get knocked out, since the Gible changed as a defending Pokemon into the Garchomp. So you might see a very quick loss here. Oh, it's a Regice, not Garchomp as of yet. I thought we saw fighting type. Interesting, interesting. We'll go with a Jirachi. Yeah, we'll put down a Jirachi. We'll go for a Shaymin after that. If we have one more in our deck, I should have looked. I forgot to look. We'll discard. I will attach a Fighting Fury Belt. We'll discard probably the Trainer's Mail and the Super Rod. It's kind of tricky again because we kind of needed the Super Rod in the last game. And there is the Jirachi. So the Aegislash might come in handy here if my opponent plays a DCE. We'll take a look at the Trainer's Mail before we play down the Shaymin. We get a Sycamore. I'm going to get the Sycamore in hand. You never know, we might draw into a terrible hand with the Shaymin. At least we have the Sycamore to get rid of it then. Let's see, we get 5 cards from the Shaymin. An Aegislash, which I will keep in hand for now. And I will go for the Bronzor. Get the Bronzor out so that we can start using the Metal Links at some point. And we'll see what my opponent does. I'm not gonna discard his hand yet. There's a Roller Skates from my opponent. So maybe this is not a Garchomp deck then. Wow, 3 Roller Skates in hand and only one succeeds. That's quite unlucky. Oh, Regirock. It looks like it's just a Regice, a Regirock deck and stuff like that. An anti-EX deck, anti-EX. So we could potentially take advantage of that. Because we don't really have EX attackers. We could trade prizes 1-to-1. Except for the Aegislash-EX here. Do I wanna... I think my opponent does run DCE, so I'm gonna bench the Aegislash even though it's a bit of a liability. My opponent could Lysandre it out. We will Sycamore away these 2 VS and VS Seekers, unfortunately. And we will go with a... How many energies do we have in the discard pile? Only 1. I'm gonna discard this energy and 1 Jirachi. I need to be careful here because the Super Rod is in our discard pile. Maybe I'm gonna discard the Fighting Fury Belt instead. I think that's a little bit safer. And we will get out the Bronzong. And then we will put down the Zorua so we can stand in. And we'll power up the Zorua with a Metal Energy. From the discard pile we are left without a hand. That's a little bit unfortunate. If we get a Sycamore, I can't really use it because we would have to get rid of 2 Jirachi, and that's a lot of Jirachi to get rid of. Okay, so no special energies as of yet. We get hit for an Ice Beam, might get paralyzed, and we do get paralyzed. We can stand in with the Zoroark if we want. And I think we will. I think we will hit away at the Regice, or maybe we will go for the Doom Desire instead. Pay the retreat cost with the Zoroark. That's definitely a possibility, and I think I will go for that. I will retreat into the Jirachi, put down the stadium, make it tough for my opponent to retreat. We will go for a Doom Desire. And just like that, we have 4 energies in a discard pile. So can my opponent find a switch? He won't be able to attack with the Regirock if he does, because the Regirock takes 2 attachments. But he needs a switch. He could definitely hit us for a Resistance Blizzard, or again in Ice Beam, but he will get knocked out if he does that. He could have retreated right now if he didn't have the stadium. So if he has a counter stadium, then he could retreat, but I don't think we will see that happen. And even if it does, then it stays 6-6 in a prizes, and we can power up the Jirachi once again. So our Muscle Band on the Regirock and a Birch with Tails, so that's good for us. Tails means he will have trouble finding a switch or a counter stadium, which I believe he does run. You rarely see decks without a counter stadium. Resistance Blizzard for 70, and we get a knockout. And we even get a victory. We get a concede from our opponents. Look at that. That makes up for the previous match. I think that was pretty good. We will find ourselves one more final opponent here, just to see if we can maybe find a match where Jirachi shines even more, because that was just a little bit silly. We got 1 knockout with Jirachi, but 1 knockout is only 1 knockout after all. We're facing Javaxo with a Fighting Lightning, Psychic, and a Grass deck. I'm gonna guess that's gonna be a Vespiquen variant. Vespiquen Vileplume with Unknown and Glade. I'm gonna guess that's what we are facing. Vespiquen, Vileplume, Unknown, and Glade. Place your bets now. Which Pokemon do you think are in my opponent's deck? If it is what I think it is, then we are in trouble, because Vespiquen has free retreat. We might have to attack with something else than our Jirachi, or completely shut down our opponent's abilities with Hex Maniac and Garbodor. We start off with a Bronzor, that's not good. We have a Floatstone and a Judge. Might actually go for the Judge here. If we can get another basic, that would be nice. And let's see, it is an Unknown. My opponent starts with an Unknown. We could actually go with the Hex Maniac if we want to. Hex Maniac or Judge? That's the option here. That's the question as well. Hex Maniac or Judge? It's Judge, and we need some Pokemon ourselves. Hex Maniac is very attractive. It would slow down my opponent enormously in setting up. And we get a terrible hand from that. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I regret the Judge now. I hope my opponent has a terrible hand as well. We will get out a... Do we have a Garbodor maybe? We do have the Garbodor. I'm not sure if it's very useful. I'm getting out a Zorua to go with the Zoroark. And we really need to hope for a good top deck. That Judge just failed us big time. Might as well retreat this Bronzor into the Jirachi. The Bronzor is more valuable than the Jirachi, because we have 4 copies of the Jirachi. We only have 2 copies of the Bronzor. Oh, Drillbur. So it's not Vespiquen, or maybe it is. Oh, and a DCE. I like to see the DCE. Oh my gosh, my opponent got a really good hand from that Judge. That's and a Vespiquen as well. So there's a mixture there. I would love to get out our Aegislash then. We need an Aegislash. Can we stall until we can get the Aegislash? Although I do think my opponent runs basic energies besides the DCE. I don't think he just runs DCEs, because the Excadrill takes metal energies. And a pass of the turn, so not too great of a turn for my opponent either, but still better than what we did. Yeah, look at that. We cannot do a single thing. We can just evolve and end our turn. If we can get a single energy, we can use Diminutive Desire and dig through our deck. That's what we are hoping for. Either a good top deck or an energy for the Diminutive Desire. As long as our opponent has this unknown in the active spot, we are pretty safe. We will see a Floatstone at some point. I believe we will. And I'm still not sure how we will deal with the Vespiquen here. Unless it gets DCE attached, we will just deal with it with the Aegislash, but otherwise I'm really not too sure. And our opponent has no way of removing the DCE from the Vespiquen because it has free retreat, so he cannot get rid of the DCE by retreating. He could get rid of the DCE on the Drillbur by retreating. The only way he could get rid of this DCE if he attaches to the Vespiquen is with a Zero Seek. And there's a Metal Energy to the Drillbur, so the Excadrill is going to be ready pretty soon. My opponent just needs to find a switch or a Floatstone. Yeah. We will have to wait and see what happens. Probably draw, pass, draw, pass, draw, pass until we can get something. We have 45 cards in our deck. That's just really unlucky there. My opponent discards a Metal Energy. Maybe he has a Bronzong line of his own to get those back. There's Excadrill. Excadrill with the Mac Claw. Can attack twice. Hits for 70. So twice, that's 140. That's pretty good. We get an Ultra Ball. We could go for a Shaymin pretty soon with that Ultra Ball. So just one more turn and we can Shaymin away. Have Shaybay help us out. Save our asses. Our asses are on the line here. A Battle Compressor for my opponent. I'm intrigued to see what he will Battle Compress. What would he want to go for here? Maybe he's just thinning out his deck. We still don't see a Bronzong line, so he cannot Battle Compress energies to get them back with the Bronzong. Battle Compresses Jolteon and Unknown. So he's going to Battle Compress some Pokemon for Vespiquen. And he's going to manually retreat the Unknown by attaching a DCE. I really want to get out our Aegislash now. And there's a Lysandre for the Zoroark. He's going to knock out the Zoroark. I'm actually quite fine with that. I don't quite mind. Hits for 70 and another 70. Not sure why he targeted the Zoroark and not a Bronzong. I think the Bronzong is more threatening. We can get out another Zoroark line as well. We will promote the Bronzong here. Because it has the Floatstone attached. And we get another Bronzor. That's unfortunate. We'll have to discard that. And we have to go for a Shaymin here. Don't tell me Shaymin's our prize. Okay, so we get at least one. We could go for an Aegislash as well. But I'm going to try and dig for the Aegislash using the Shaymin. Otherwise we would be left without a hand once again. And that would make us vulnerable to our opponent just attaching Metal Energies. Here's another Zorua. There's a Jirachi. We'll probably have to judge. Yeah, we'll probably have to judge here. I'm going to attach this Fighting Fury Belt to the Jirachi. Not really ready to use the Super Rod just yet, because I don't really want to draw into the other cards that were in the discard pile, the Bronzor and the Zoroark just yet. We get a Sycamore. That is already pretty good. I'm going to, however, discard these two. Discard the Stadium, which is a bit of a bummer, and get another Shaymin out. Or maybe I should get out the Aegislash. I'm getting out the Aegislash. I'm getting it out right now. I'm going to retreat into the Aegislash, and I'm going to start powering it up. I think that's a good choice. Start powering it up, the Aegislash. And that way we have two attackers ready to go. We have the Aegislash, which takes 2 more attachments, and then we also have the Jirachi on the bench. This gives our opponent a little bit of trouble. He will need to find a Hex Maniac to get through our Aegislash and cannot knock it out in 1 turn, so he'll need to find 2 Hex Maniacs actually. There's a Hex Maniac in the discard pile, so he can for sure grab it. He probably runs VS Seekers, so we might see a VS Seeker for a Hex Maniac. That could be troublesome. Hopefully we can power up the Aegislash before our opponent can get the Hex Maniac, and then we can knock out the Excadrill. We only need 2 energy attachments to knock out the Excadrill. And we know my opponent already got rid of 1 DCE, so he only has 2 more DCE and a couple more metal energies. I don't think my opponent runs a whole ton. He maybe runs 4. And 1 is in the discard pile, 1 is attached. Or maybe 5. Let's make it 5, be on the safe side. I don't think he runs more than that. Not the type of deck to run more than that. Pretty interesting deck though, the combination of Excadrill with Vespiquen. I like the idea behind it, and I like Excadrill by itself as well. A very good card in my opinion for just a fun deck, and a fun deck that can actually win some matchups. There is the VS Seeker for the Hex Maniac most likely. Oh, a Lysandre is going to Lysandre out the Shaymin then. I guess, yep, goes for the Shaymin, so that's 1 less VS Seeker for a Hex Maniac. And that gives us a possibility to power up the Aegislash. Do we have an energy in our discard pile? We do not. We need an energy in our discard pile so we can power up the Aegislash in 1 hit. Our opponent's down to 3 prizes, but we are still in the game here. We still definitely have a chance to come back. We just need to be sure that my opponent cannot continuously Lysandre anything out. He can go for 3 more Lysandres. Do I want anything of that? How many VS Seekers have we used? 1. I'm going to get the Hex Maniac and discard it with the Sycamore so we don't draw into it. There's very little points to the Hex Maniac at this point in the game. There we get an energy but no Ultra Ball to get rid of the energy in the discard pile. I really wanted to see an Ultra Ball. Maybe I should have gone for the stadium. I kind of feel like letting the Jirachi get knocked out. I wish I could have knocked out this Excadrill this turn. Do I maybe want to dig for... I will attach a Fighting Fury Bell to the Aegislash. Do I want to dig for an Ultra Ball? Maybe. Maybe. I'm gonna let the Level Ball fail. And I'm gonna let another Level Ball fail. And then I'm going to play down the Shaymin. I know it's an easy target for my opponent. It's very risky here, but I wanna power up that Aegislash this turn. Can we get... Oh, we get a Max Elixir. This might do it for us. This might do it. Yes, we got it. Alright, this should be a knockout then. I think the risk might have paid off here. That leaves us. That leaves our opponent without a backup attacker for now, except for the Vespiquen. But the Vespiquen has a DCE, so it does not hurt the Aegislash unless my opponent can find a Hex Maniac, which we know he can. But we just have to hope my opponent does not have enough Pokemon in the discard pile to knock out our Aegislash. And we also know that my opponent only has 2 DCE left. So we only need to deal with 2 more attackers. And then it will be tough for my opponent to power up a 3rd one after that, after these 2 that we have to deal with. So we have to deal with this Vespiquen and maybe another Vespiquen or maybe another Excadrill. Just wish my opponent had more VS Seekers in the discard pile. It's very unlikely that some are still prized. There's only 3 prizes left, so I'm guessing my opponent at least has 2 more of the S-Seekers. There's a Jolteon, and that's not very useful for my opponent. Here's a VS-Seeker going for a knockout on the Shaymin. Yeah, this might actually come to bite us in the ass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opponent does need more Pokemon in the discard pile. This won't be a knockout. Oh yes, it is because of weakness, because of the Jolteon. Very nicely done from my opponent. Okay, so this is gonna be tricky. My opponent's down at 1 prize. He just needs a Lysandre at some point to Lysandre out one of our Pokemon on the bench. I'm gonna attach a Fighting Fury Belt to the Jirachi. It's an easy knockout. I'm gonna dig for the Zoroark as well. We are hitting for the knockout on the Vespiquen here, so we should be safe there. I'm gonna attach a Floatstone to the Zorua. I'm gonna dig for a Zoroark. Make it tough for my opponent to knock out the Zorua. Which, oh, we do not have the Zoroark. I forgot. Let's get a Bronzong out. Discard a Bronzong. We won't be needing it. And then see if we can maybe hit the Super Rod. Which we do not. We do not hit the Super Rod. Alright, it's time to put down the stadium. We need to find a Lysandre as well. We don't have access to a Lysandre yet. I'm gonna thin out my deck a little bit more here. Power up the Jirachi. And then hit for a Slash Blast for the knockout. Do we manage to take this game? We are in a very tricky spot here. Very tricky indeed. This is Jolteon. Does not have free retreat because of our stadium. We will most likely go for the Shaymin if we could get a Lysandre. But I don't think we will. We will need to be very lucky with our top deck. If my opponent attaches an energy somewhere, we will hopefully Lysandre out that Pokemon at some point. My opponent needs a DCE and needs some Vespiquens or some Excadrills. If we can knock out enough Pokemon before he can power up those attackers, then we are pretty safe. But I think this is going to be very tricky for us to pull off. Alright, let's take a look at this Trainer's Mail. We get a Super Rod. I'm going to Super Rod back the Zoroark in my deck. And then I'm also going to get back, let's see, we need to get back some other things as well. I'm gonna get back a Jirachi and a Shaymin. It doesn't really matter if we put down a Shaymin at this point. I will attach to the Aegislash. You never know, you might see some hammers. And then I'm probably going to... Do we have a Birch in the discard pile? Yes, we do. I'm going to go for a Birch here. And see if I can get a Lysandre that way. This is very tricky because I need to be careful for the deck out. Okay, Birch it is. We'll bring ourselves down to 6 cards. And no Lysandre. That means the Lysandre is prized. There is no other way. The Lysandre must be prized. Can we get the Lysandre from the prizes? Yes, we do. Oh, we got it. We could Lysandre out a Shaymin if my opponent cannot find a Vespiquen. I actually want to Lysandre out this Combi because it's more of a threat than the Shaymin. And then we can... Oh, he promotes the Combi. Does that mean he has a Hex Maniac? He doesn't have nearly enough Pokemon in the discard pile to threaten our Aegislash, but he can definitely knock out anything on our bench. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 times 10, that's 90. That's plus 20 from the base, that's 110. Plus 20 from the muscle band, that's 150. We have 210 hit points, so he needs 6 more Pokemon in the discard pile. And he's going to Super Rod back some Pokemon. as well as some energies. So he's going to try and attack us, but there's a Sycamore, so we won't see a Hex Maniac, we won't see a Lysandre. We will knock out this Combi, this Vespiquen in this turn. My opponent will probably try to retreat it. I will Lysandre it out if I can, and then in next turn we'll go with a Lysandre on the Shaymin on the bench, on my opponent's bench. What did we see there? A Trainers Mail 4. Trainers Mail. Oh, it doesn't tell me. I kind of missed out there. Trainers Mail. Yeah, I missed out what my opponent took. There is the attachment. We know we won't see a Lysandre and be revenge for 120. Why is that? Oh yeah, because I completely forgot. I thought my opponent was attaching special energies. But he wasn't, he was just attaching metal energy, so yeah, of course we would be attacked by the Vespiquen. But we have to knock it out here, we don't have an other option. It's this or losing the game. I think that's really it. If we don't knock it out now, if we go for the Lysandre on the Shaymin, we go down in the next turn. And now we force our opponent to power up another attacker. And that's probably gonna be the Excadrill if my opponent has an energy in hand, and it is indeed. My opponent is going to have to attach a metal energy to the Excadrill. There it is, and then going to go for a Dredge. Dredge, search your deck for 2 energy cards, and we won't see a knockout on the Aegislash. I don't think we will see a knockout. We'll just see a Dredge and then a Maclaw for 50. If my opponent finds 2 metal energies, if he does not find 2 metal energies, then we won't get hit by the Dredge, by the Maclaw. He could attach a DCE for sure with the Dredge, but that won't matter. DCE won't go through the Aegislash, so he needs to find those metal energies, and he needs to find a. He goes for a switch. He needs to find maybe a, what is it called again? Not a Lysandre, but the item card that can target something on our bench. I forgot the name, but he doesn't find it. He does find the metal energies. Otherwise, if he had that item card, he could have potentially gotten the Zorua stuck in the active spot and knocked it out there with that 50 damage. That could have potentially happened. And we will take the game then. This was a very close game, but we managed to take it with our stall tactics after all. Jirachi did not play a role here, funnily enough, even though it was ready to go. We just lost too many Pokemon at the start of the game. It doesn't matter, we will take the game anyways with 150 damage. And there is the last Zoroark. I think I should have evolved and could have evolved Zorua on the bench in the turn before that. I'm not sure. And I think I should have done that because that was a liability. And I really want to know the name of the item card I'm looking for. What is that item card called again? And it's not Megaphone. It's the thing that you have to flip a coin. And then if it is heads, you get to switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. I use it in my Night March deck, but the name escapes me. Let me know in the comments if you remember. I'll probably Google it right after here because I can't stand it when I forget something that I know, that I for sure know, but just on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, we dealt 610 damage versus 630 for my opponent. Aegislash MVP. That's why Aegislash is in this deck, because well, Jirachi would have never been able to pull off this win, I think, against the deck that my opponent played. So that's going to be it for today's episode. I think these were some pretty interesting matches, some pretty interesting showcases of this silly deck idea. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the battles, press that thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to my channel for more competitive, silly and fun deck ideas. I hope you have a truly cardtastic day. I hope you enjoy yourself, and I will see you next time.
Karp, 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 Karp.